You finally understand.
We do it my way.
Show me in!
Don't go acting like you don't know what I'm talking about. I want you back. Love you.
I need another beer.
Welcome home.
And you exert yourself in the gym, so when the fight is easy. This is when you want to force yourself. You exert yourself here. You don't got to worry about it. If you get tired in the gym, it's when you're supposed to be tired. So you won't get tired in the fight.
When I signed with Floyd, it was like I was sparring every day.
Get the jab, Tank, get the jab!
Training non-stop. And then every person that he was signing at that time had to go through me.
Tank, point to the easy work. Point to the easy work.
Floyd gave me a lot of advice. He still gives me advice as far as boxing. Make sure I'm training hard each and every day because no opponent need to be taken lightly.
It's my little killer right here. When your next fight, champ? Ain't fight on my card. What? He world champion. The youngest world champion in boxing. I'm there. Ask him what's his record. What's your record?
17-9.
Okay, there you go. You real. Oh, he official. Money team, baby.
DraftKings and Showtime Sports are bringing fight fans closer to the action than ever before with our custom Showtime Boxing Pick'em game.
It doesn't get bigger than this for these two warriors.
For every Showtime Boxing event, you have the opportunity to compete for your share of $5,000 and a Showtime Boxing swag bag. Plus, a year-long competition to win a trip to every Showtime Championship Boxing event in 2020.
When both of us get in the ring, you don't know what's going to happen.
Call it like you see it. Pick the fighters, the method of victory, and earn your shot to win money.
Oh, this fight is over!
Stop ducking and enter the ring. Go to DraftKings.com/Showtime now to play.
As a youth, he faced adversity. As a man, he rose above it all. And as a king, he reigned supreme, making his mark on the sport.
Unbelievable knockout artist Tank Davis.
Decorated champion Tank Davis returns Saturday, July 27th at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Showtime.
For Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live as we get set for the Super Featherweight Championship of the World as Gervonta Tank Davis makes his homecoming tonight against the hard-hitting Panamanian in Ricardo Nunez. I'm Ray Flores alongside my colleagues Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell getting set for a big night of boxing here in the Charm City. It's the first time that Showtime Championship Boxing has made its way to Baltimore. And what a night of action that we have in store. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. As we get set for action, let's take a look at what we have on tap for the triple header that we have here for Showtime Championship Boxing. Also partake with it with DraftKings and Select. We will start off with Ladarius Memphis Miller going head-to-head against a former world champion, Gisrael Corrales. Then a matchup between two former world champions, Yuriokis Gamboa and Roman Martinez go head-to-head. And then our main event, Gervonta Davis against Ricardo Nunez. And Luke, we'll start with you. There's a buzz. There's an electricity. It has been nearly 80 years since a fighter from Baltimore has defended his world title. Lo and behold, Gervonta Davis has that distinction here tonight.
We're not in Atlanta, but when it comes to all things Baltimore, we've got the real deal Holyfield when it comes to Gervonta Davis, the authentic Charm City product. But as you know with homecomings, they're about expectations, pageantry, energy. So far this week, he's met all of those, but tonight is the real test against Nunez. We'll see what he's got in store.
And Brian Gervonta Davis, this has been a homecoming week for him as he's been given the key to the city. He has been very influential in the youth around here, and now he gets the opportunity center stage against Ricardo Nunez.
Yeah, the theme for Gervonta this week has really been maturity. He says it outright. I want to bring hope to the youth of the city by coming back because I've had the same troubled past that a lot of they have. Boxing has saved my life. And for Gervonta, first-time father, his baby daughter, Gervonta, he says, has softened him in the right ways, has changed him, put some of the outside-the-ring issues of the past behind him, and at 24 years old, to find that maturity to equal out with that great ability he has as a boxer-puncher. Really big things could be ahead if he gets past tonight.
Now, before we get to the triple header on Showtime Championship Boxing, we go ahead and we have some prelim action in store here tonight as we have Dillon Price, Malik Hawkins, both unbeaten, both from around this area. Also, we have Kareem Martin. For more on that, we'll send it down to our broadcast team, Brent Stover, and the Hall of Famer, Steve Farhood. Gentlemen.
Ray, thanks a lot. And obviously, Steve, Richardson Hitchens was supposed to be the headliner on this prelim card, but his opponent backed out at the last minute. So, as Ray mentioned, it's an opportunity for a couple of other young stars to really capture the headlines tonight, beginning with Malik Hawkins.
Malik Hawkins is a prospect I'm really watching. We had him on our Showbox series, Brent, and he's dropping down in weight from welterweight to junior welterweight. He's young. He's only 23 years old. Tall guy, likes to fight. And when you get tall guys who like to fight on the inside, they're almost always entertaining. So I look forward to seeing Malik Hawkins tonight, part of the Gervonta Davis team.
Yeah, obviously he's a Baltimore guy, so maybe a little extra pressure on his shoulders fighting here at home in the Charm City. Dillon Price, Ray mentioned him as well. A lot to love about Dillon Price.
What my favorite thing about Dillon Price, he's 115 pounds. You rarely see an East Coast fighter, American-born fighter, who weighs that little. He's a 7-time national junior amateur champion, undefeated as a pro. Somebody I really want to see as a prospect.
All right, preliminary fights coming up. Got 3 of them here on the show, and all will go 8 rounds. It'll be exciting to see some of these young prospects, and Kareem Martin as well. Not expected to be part of our telecast here, but with Hitchens' opponent backing out, it's an opportunity for Martin to be on display as well.
And Kareem Martin is a reclamation project. He was once thought to be a very, very highly rated prospect, undefeated for a while, part of the Headbangers group in Washington, D.C., suffered a couple of losses, matched pretty tough, but suffered a couple of losses. He's won 3 in a row since against inferior opposition. So he's trying to make a name for himself again, starting over.
All right, back on Malik Hawkins. What do you like most? What should people look forward to in his fight?
Well, I think he's fan-friendly because he's very tall, yet he likes to fight on the inside. He's got good power, learning to fight with range, now trained by Calvin Ford, and I think he's one of the better U.S.-born prospects.
He's 15-0, 9 knockouts. It's going to be 8 rounds in the super lightweight division. He takes on Jonathan Steele, 9-4-1 with 6 knockouts. And again, Dillon Price. For Dillon Price, it's kind of a family affair. He's got a younger brother who's 14, who's #1 in the country right now in his weight division, and he's got his dad, David Price, in his corner. They say they are best friends in and out of the ring.
And, you know, father-son dynamics in boxing, always iffy, but I think this father-son combination works.
All right, Ray, Luke, and Brian, back up to you guys.
Thank you very much, Brent. Greatly appreciated as we get set for our next matchup coming our way as we have in the ring Kareem Martin. He takes on Luis Avilan. Now, let's send it down to our ring announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Royal Farms Arena here in Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland. This is Premier Boxing Champions, and this is Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown. Brought to you by Mayweather Promotions, TGB Promotions, and Showtime. This is the opening attraction of the evening, 8 rounds of boxing in the super lightweight division. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout will be Lynn Carter, John Gradowski, and Dave Moretti. And in the ring, the man laying the law when the bell sounds, referee Harvey Dock. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, he's wearing red and white trim trunks. He weighed in officially At 130 3/4 pounds, he is a veteran of 24 professional fights, 5 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Baja California, Mexico, presenting Luis Broccoli Avila. And his opponent fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing blue and silver trimmed trunks. He weighed in officially at 139 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 12 victories, 2 defeats with 1 bout even. 3 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Washington, D.C., presenting Kareem Remo Morton. Once again, referee Harvey Dock.
Okay, boxers, you received your instructions earlier. As a reminder, obey my commands at all times, protect yourself at all times. Touch them up. Good luck.
8 rounds in the super lightweight division to get this preliminary card underway from Baltimore. Inside Royal Farms Arena, Brent Stover and the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood ringside.
And Brent, I'll tell you this, Kareem Martin, he may have a couple of losses, he may be rebuilding, but he's a very exciting fighter. He's short, he has a short reach, and as a result, he likes to stand in the pocket, and you see he's going for it right away.
Kareem Martin in the blue trunks, red trunks for Luis Avila. Very aggressive early on in round number 1 for Kareem Martin.
And in fairness, we should report that Avila has lost his last 5.
Has lost 5 in a row. It's been tough. He's got to get off the schneid at some point, working the body with the left early on in round number 1. He's the favorite, Kareem Martin.
So far, Martin having no trouble landing shots.
Counter left hook there from Avila, trying to get some kind of offense going, but a hard straight right. And then a right hook from Kareem Martin. And he's got his opponent under siege early on in this one.
Yes, if he continues to connect with power shots with this regularity, this fight's not going to last too long. And you know what Kareem Martin's trying to do is very difficult. He was a top prospect, was considered maybe Olympic material for a while, turned pro at a young age, and then he lost a couple of fights. And to be this young and try to rebuild is a very hard thing to do.
23 years of age, 5'7". You mentioned Calvin Ford, his trainer. Ford going to be busy tonight with a cradle of Baltimore fighters fighting at home.
And you got to love it. We've seen it many times with trainers. When a trainer gets hot, and Calvin Ford got hot with Gervonta Davis, fighters migrate to his gym. And now Calvin Ford's training a lot of good young fighters.
Just down the road, Martin is, the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Minute 17 to go in round number 1 in the super lightweight division. Nice 1-2 on the inside there from Martin, and then comes back with a left hook. What can Avila do to change things, the momentum early on?
It's not easy. He's going to have to counter the right hand, maybe with a left hook, because Martin's not missing with that left hand, with that right hand. There it is again.
Inside the final 45 seconds, opening round. First of 3 preliminary fights here on Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live.
Now, Avila's a little slow-fisted, but he's trying. He's throwing punches with whatever power he has.
Martin with that jab. That's a stiff one.
This is an 8-rounder, correct? Yeah. I know our graphic says 12.
Yeah. First of 8 here. Final seconds. Martin and Avila to open the festivities here inside Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore tonight. This combination there from Avila. And answering back, he's up against the ropes. Martin all over him in the final 10 seconds to close out round number 1 in style.
You know, you wonder what Calvin Ford can say to his fighter. Basically, he landed every punch he threw. So what is he going to try to do in the second round that he didn't do in the first? He landed everything.
Kareem Martin has won 3 straight. 23 years of age. He's won 4 of his last 5. And he looks well on his way to a 4th straight victory here tonight, Steve.
You know, boxing can be humbling. You're Kareem Martin. You were once a top prospect. He's fighting in the first streaming fight tonight. Needless to say, the arena is not even close to half full because most people are coming to see Gervonta. It's humbling. You realize, you know, you have a long way to go to get to that level, if he ever does, to get to that Gervonta Davis level.
Only 3 knockouts in his 12 victories, so generally goes the distance. A wild sweeping left there to open around 2, then a straight right to the head of Avila.
And Avila's lucky that Kareem Martin's not a big puncher, because if he were, Avila would be gone by now.
Avila counting back, doing some body work with the left hook. Straight right up top from Martin. Tank Davis is the headliner coming up tonight against Ricardo Nunez on Showtime Championship Boxing. Early thought from you on Tank Davis this evening, fighting in his hometown?
Well, the 2 stars of this show are Tank Davis and Baltimore. I don't remember the last time I was at a fight here in this city, and it really warms my heart as a boxing guy to see big-time boxing in big cities. You know, it used to be standard. Baltimore has a tremendous boxing history, going back to Joe Gans at the turn of the 20th century. And there hasn't been a lot of big fights. There hasn't been a championship fight here with a defending Baltimore native since, in 80 years, since Harry Jeffers. So this is a very important night, not only for Gervonta Davis, but for Baltimore boxing.
We will get into some of the rich history of Baltimore boxing as we move along here tonight during these preliminary fights. And just say this, it's a boxing history that has gone somewhat unnoticed, you could say.
Yeah, I think when people think of Baltimore, some of them think of Ray Leonard, who was from Palmer Park, Maryland, not all that far away. And then you have fighters who were born in Baltimore who aren't associated with the city at all, like the great light heavyweight and cruiserweight champ Dwight Muhammad Qawi, born here, but I don't think he ever fought here, or if he did, he's not associated with Baltimore.
Big left there that rocked Avila. Here with a minute left in round number 2 of 8 super lightweight bout.
Avila's hands dangerously low. It's almost like he's inviting Kareem Martin to land big shots. And Martin's smart now, mixing his attack, throwing some shots to the body as well.
Went straight up the middle with that body shot after a flurry to the head of Avila. Tell you what, that pretty basic stuff, but that jab and straight right working well in the opening 2 rounds for Kareem Martin.
And you look at Avila, 5 straight losses, but the fact of the matter is, he's a tough guy. He's always matched against fighters who are either unbeaten or 1 or 2 losses. And boxing needs guys like this because Kareem Martin isn't ready at this point in his career to fight in 50-50 fights. He needs to build up his confidence again where it was when he was an undefeated fighter.
And to that point, Avila 8-13-3 coming into this fight in 2 rounds. Late shot there from Martin, but 2 rounds in the books, both dominated by the man in the blue trunks from Washington, D.C. Start your free trial at SHOWTIME.com. And the main card obviously coming up, featuring Tank Davis, comes your way later tonight on Showtime.
And you see Martin landing that right hand. The reason, no footwork at all from Avila. And Avila's left hand is very low, so he really can't miss. And he hasn't missed very often.
Calvin Ford, the trainer of super lightweight Kareem Martin, who has dominated the opening 2 rounds here in Baltimore.
Brent, were you a fan of the show The Wire?
Yes, but not as big of a fan as I should have been, is what I've been told by all of my friends.
People have told me that it's like the greatest show in the history of television. I never saw it, but
It's worth watching, and it's very realistic.
And Calvin Ford was the inspiration for one of the characters on the show.
That's right.
So that's kind of cool.
Very cool. It's awfully gritty.
Yeah.
But it tells a very true story if you talk to people around here. And we had that discussion with some of the trainers and fighters in our meeting yesterday, and they will tell you that almost to a T that there are obviously and unfortunately still very realistic neighborhoods that follow along with that show. Dillon Price, Samuel Gutierrez to come next after Martin puts on this show. And a flurry to open around 3 in the opening minute, straight right to the head. And he was able to rock Avila, and now he's got him on the ropes again. And Avila able to fight his way off for the moment.
Martin is putting on a show, Brent, but what he needs to do is finish the show. You don't want to go past the point you should be going, and maybe what he needs to do is just kind of pin Avila in a corner or against the ropes and try to convince Harvey Dock to step in, the referee.
Chopping right, then a left hook, followed by a right hook, and then another left and right to the body, and gets inside for the uppercut. His entire arsenal being shown in round number 3. Overhand right, left hook to the body, and he's got him in trouble.
And it looks to me like Harvey Dock, who's a top young referee, definitely contemplating stepping in.
Another big shot to the body, followed by 3 more from Martin. And Dock watching very closely here with a minute left in round 3.
And Martin showing some ring IQ because the elbows are so high of Avila that Martin's punching under those elbows to the body. You see how exaggerated that high guard is of Avila.
Well, and earlier you were talking about Avila's hands were too low.
Yeah, so he kind of can't win.
He can't win. Completely overmatched by Martin. But I'll tell you, he's doing everything he can to fight his way out of this and stay alive. It's counter right there by Martin.
Punching more now, Avila, than he's been since the first round.
Final 20 seconds of round 3 of 8. In the super lightweight division, Martin and Avila. Big shots from Martin. Nice combination there, and now 10 seconds. Straight right to the head. And then back to the body, working everything here in round 3. The best of 3 very impressive rounds so far for Kareem Martin. With the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood, Brent Stover ringside. What are you seeing so far?
Well, I'm not keeping score because there's no need to keep score. We know it's 3 rounds to 0 for Martin, and he's dominating. And, you know, this is not meant to be a real test for him. It's meant to give him rounds. He's getting rounds. He's throwing a lot of punches. He's dominating. It's all about rebuilding your confidence. When you've had a couple of losses and you're a young fighter, you have to rebuild your confidence.
And Harvey Dock has just called off the fight. He went into the corner of Avila. They wanted no more. They have thrown in the towel, and this fight is over as he does not come off the stool for round 4.
Not a surprise at all, whether it's stopped by Harvey Dock or the corner. Basically, Avila had no chance, so I call it a mercy stoppage.
So Kareem Martin, and you've been talking about it since the start of this fight, Steve, trying to rebuild his career and gain confidence regardless of quality of opponent here tonight. And obviously the opponent was overmatched. Got to walk away with some kind of confidence because in 3 rounds he showed us a lot of different things in his arsenal.
Yeah, he's with Calvin Ford. He hasn't been with him that long. Usually it takes a while for a trainer and a fighter to mesh so that the trainer can implement what he wants to teach. And Martin looked good tonight. He was expected to look good against limited opposition.
Kareem Martin, the native of Washington, D.C., improves to 13-2-1 with those 3 knockouts. And he will celebrate his victory just down the road from his home city here inside Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore. Here on Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live, Martin in 3 rounds gets the TKO of Luis Avila in the super lightweight division.
And Martin from Clinton, Maryland, which is about 50 miles from Baltimore. So if he's going to train, in Calvin Ford's gym, he's got a good drive every day both ways.
Well, his last 10 went the distance. This one only goes 3. Martin gets the win, and we head inside the ring for the official result.
Ladies and gentlemen, official time. The end of round number 3. Referee Harvey Dunk calls a halt to the bout. The fighter out of the red corner is unable to continue. Your winner by way of TKO from Washington, D.C., Kareem Remo Martin.
So Kareem Martin takes care of business here tonight. A third round stoppage. His opponent, Luis Avila, unable to answer the bell for round number 4. A complete dominating performance out of Martin Luke, and it didn't seem like he was in any danger whatsoever.
No, not really. He's from PG County. You heard Steve Farhood, who I can't believe hasn't seen The Wire, by the way, but different story for a different time. He's from PG County, which is where Kevin Durant's from. It's an enormous amount of athletic talent that comes out of there. And look, you saw the way he was fighting. He wasn't even necessarily needing to move his feet. And I won't say landing at will, but landing pretty much at will. An overwhelming performance and a nice way to keep getting back to that road to ultimate confidence.
Well, 4 straight victories for Kareem Martin, as he had a couple of stumbles earlier in his career. Now he's back on the winning track and really seems to be clicking on all cylinders.
That's
Brian.
what you call a get-back win. That's a confidence builder. He did what he wanted to do throughout the fight, put his punches together. Look, now he's joining forces with Calvin Ford. Yes, the inspiration for the character Dennis Cuddy Wise of The Wire, but also a rising trainer. You're building a strong stable. A lot to work with, a lot of new nuances. Came together very well tonight.
And a lot of things to look forward to, including the brand new show that debuted alongside these two gentlemen, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell. It is Morning Combat. Here's a look.
Reveille, donks. It's time for Morning Combat. This is Morning Combat. My name is Luke Thomas, along with my trusty steed and Padawan. This is Brian Campbell.
What about Padawan? Hashtag fired up and well caffeinated.
Let's start first with the controversy in the room. You scored it for Thurman.
When I did the math in the end, it was 7-5 Thurman.
You're the boxing guy more than I am, certainly. It's the fastest KO in UFC history.
Could do a long breakdown in front of this blackboard teacher and really go, nerd heavy on that.
After it happens, you're yelling, oh shit.
So Morning Combat that you saw, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific time on YouTube and Facebook here on Showtime Championship Boxing. My goodness, you want to check it out? Gentlemen, I have to ask you, are we going to get a lot of verbal fisticuffs on a Monday morning?
Well, that depends on what happens each weekend in terms of the biggest news in the world of MMA and boxing and combat sports and beyond. Luke and I, we don't always agree. But the one thing that we're going to guarantee is we're going to sling it for real, no punches pulled. We're going to have that water cooler chat every morning, really planting those seeds in the headlines in your head of what you should care about.
Think about it this way. After a big fight, or even after just a regular weekend anyway, when you turn on your TV or open up your radio or whatever on that Monday morning and you're listening from your regular sports talk outlet for some kind of fight coverage, you might get some when the great Mayweather competes or something like that. But then it's usually ignorant. It's not very good. And if there's any other kind of fight, you don't hear any coverage at all. We are here to solve that problem. On Monday, whether it's MMA or whether it is boxing, we've been covering this game a long time. Brian's still mostly wrong, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. But the point being is you get to start your week the right way with people who live, breathe, sleep, eat this the whole 9 yards.
Well, not only do we get Morning Combat, but we also get Morning Combat Dissected as well. Not one show, two shows that are coming your way here on the digital platforms of Showtime Sports. Right, Luke?
That's right. So one other thing that I do is the Dissected program, as you mentioned, and what is the object of that? Look, I'm a fight junkie. I like the trash talk, and I like the beef, and I like all that kind of silly stuff that you see, but really, I love fights, and I love fighting, and I love understanding it. When they call it a sweet science, it truly is that. So I'm no fighter, but I've been in the gyms for 15 years, and I got a little bit of an understanding. I don't speak the language of fighting like Shakespeare, but I could maybe teach a high school English class. So that's what I try to do. For the casual fan who's never stepped foot in a gym, can I give you a few things to look at after the weekend to really, here's the thing, I want to show how good the fighters are, and this is what that program's all about.
when there is so much to dissect and dive into, especially, gentlemen, you're going to have your plate full after this weekend with Gervonta Davis and Ricardo Nunez and Brian with Gervonta Davis making his homecoming fight. There is a lot of pressure on his shoulders. It could be good. It could be bad. We've seen when Spence fought against Mikey Garcia, but also we've seen it go the other way when Jarrett Hurd fought here around this area in Accokeek, Maryland. Didn't fare too well against Julian Williams, so it does be on two different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, hopefully for Gervonta Davis' sake, when Morning Combat hits the airwaves Monday at 12 Eastern, we'll be talking about a big win for him. We'll be talking about what type of opponents come next. But before we get there, he's going to have to get through Luis Nunez. And if you haven't heard much about him because this is his U.S. debut, one thing we do know, El Scientifico can bang. 19 knockouts and 21 wins. 15 of his last 16 fights have ended early. Hey, guys, we've seen it before with people making their U.S. debut. Remember Ricardo Torres against Miguel Cotto in 2005? Remember Marcos Maidana against Victor Ortiz? Sometimes it's the unknown that can scare you. And talking to Ricardo Nunez this week, no shortage of confidence that he can pull the upset tonight.
So you mentioned Jarrett Hurd, and that was an unfortunate result, but Williams turned out to be a much tougher customer than we thought. Maybe Nunez will be that. But I'm from D.C., and I covered Lamont Peterson's homecoming fight against Amir Khan. Now, that decision is admittedly somewhat controversial, but you talk about the hometown expectations. I think they overwhelmed Jarrett. I think they boosted Lamont. He absolutely rose to the occasion. He and his brother, I believe, also got the key to the city that week, much like Gervonta Davis did here in Baltimore. So I'm expecting a little more Lamont Peterson, a little less Jarrett Hurd.
Well, and also, Gervonta Davis is starting to really thrive when it comes to his ring walk. We saw a very theatrical ring walk, Brian, at Dignity Health Sports Park when he knocked out Hugo Ruiz back in February in one round. Gervonta Davis relishes and loves the big stage. The bigger the stage, the better that he rises to the occasion.
Sometimes we got to remember, he's just 24 years old.
I know.
He's just a kid. He's had so much put on his shoulders already with the great Floyd Mayweather saying, this is the one who is next. Gervonta Davis called the one. He's been compared to Mike Tyson of the small weight classes because of his power. In March in his last fight, we had Drake, Meek Mill ringside, Odell Beckham Jr. All the stars came out in L.A. We're in Baltimore tonight. We're going to see Cal Ripken Jr. What kind of stars can your area produce, Luke?
Not that. Maybe a couple of Redskins. That's about it. But look, here's the thing. He did stumble a little bit on the Fonseca Mayweather-McGregor card, right?
Well, he lost his world title on the scale,
but you know
didn't
what?
Look too well.
He's talking about his maturity, which I completely agree with. And I would also say it looks to me, and I can't get inside Gervonta Davis's head, like he appreciates all of it. He appreciates the love from the city. He appreciates the fact that he's got the right kind of attitude and the right kind of trainers and the right kind of city. So, like, he's kind of the soft-spoken guy who likes to show up on the big stage, but I think he also appreciates the moment and wants to nurture and take care of that.
And also, gentlemen, with Gervonta Davis, he is the clear favorite. He said, as we saw him, as Showtime Championship Boxing did a great job of looking at the rise for when it comes to Gervonta Davis, but he says he relishes the role of being the underdog. Brian, now that he's a clear favorite in this fight, do you think that he can still have that mindset of being an underdog?
You hope, but look, he's a clear betting favorite in this fight with an underdog who really believes himself in Ricardo Nunez. But this whole idea of maturity, it really seems genuine. It really seems real. You notice a lot of fighters on this card are from the extended Gervonta Davis camp, the Malik Hawkinses of the world, who outright said this week, we look up to Gervonta, not just in terms of wanting to be just like him, but we've seen the mistakes he's made along the way, and his changing and growing from that has inspired us. So that keeps you humble. That keeps you in that underdog mindset, that even though I have the big flashy name, the big look, the big left hand, I'm still needing to win each step on the ladder before he eventually has that career-defining bout that we so badly and he so badly wants to see him in.
Davis and Nunez comes your way, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific time. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com. A triple header that is highlighted by the super featherweight champion of the world, Gervonta Davis, the first Baltimore native to defend a world championship in nearly 80 years against the hard-hitting Panamanian in Ricardo Nunez. Also, Luke, there are plenty of options out there. We will dive into it a little bit later, but Yuriokis Gamboa and Roman Martinez in action in the co-main event. Two former world champions go into battle.
37 versus 36. Ordinarily, you would say, well, I don't know what to expect out of that. But if you actually talk to both guys and you hear what they've said up to this night during the course of fight week, they both have a little bit of chip on their shoulder. They both know that they have something to prove, and they both believe, okay, maybe I'm a little bit past my athletic prime, but I'm a smarter fighter, I'm a better fighter, I'm certainly an experienced fighter, and because you get this motivation combined with a little bit of them being somewhat off prime, I think they kind of step on the gas from a perspective about really having to show the crowd what's what. I'm expecting fireworks in that contest.
Yes, I'm waiting. I need fireworks from this fight. Look, I mean no disrespect when I say this. What's my favorite type of fight in boxing sometimes? Hashtag old guy fights.
You do like the sloppy brawl.
I do like the slop because, look, it's big names, guys who have been there before, but they realize a win here could lead to another big opportunity. It also could be the last chance if they lose. That brings out desperation. That brings out fire.
That's right.
Got a chance to talk to Rocky Martinez this week. He said when he went away for 3 years almost after he got knocked out by Vasily Lomachenko, he never thought about retirement. Spent some time with the family, healed some injuries, had that focus and mindset on coming back. He's bounced back with a big knockout. He thinks Yuriorkis Gamboa is chinny, thinks he's got a bad gas tank. He thinks once he puts that pressure on after round 3, he's going to get him out of there. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. And speaking of chances, gentlemen, Dillon Price has an opportunity to showcase his talent. He's in action against Samuel Gutierrez. We'll go down to our ring announcer here for the start of the fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you again to Royal Farms Arena, Baltimore, Maryland. This is Premier Boxing Champions, and this is Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown. Brought to you by Mayweather Promotions, TGB Promotions, and Showtime. This is the next attraction of the evening, 8 rounds of boxing in the super flyweight division. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout will be Lynn Carter, John Gradowski, and Dave Moretti. And in the ring, the man laying the law when the bell sounds, referee David Braslow. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing silver and white trimmed trunks. He weighed in officially at 116 1/4 pounds. He is a veteran of 45 fights, 6 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Saltillo, Mexico, presenting Samuel Banderita Gutierrez. And his opponent fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing white and blue trimmed trunks. He went in officially at 115 1/2 pounds. His professional record, 8 victories, no defeats, 6 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Sicklerville, New Jersey, presenting the real deal, Dillon Price. Once again, referee David Braslow.
All right, gentlemen, you're given the rules in the dressing room. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Touch them up. Good luck.
Here we go. Fight number 2 of 3 on this preliminary card here on Showtime Championship Boxing Live. Dillon, the real Dill Price, 8-0, 6 knockouts against the journeyman, 30 years of age. From Mexico, Samuel Gutierrez. What are we looking for, Steve?
I'm looking for a new nickname, Real Dill. I don't love it, Brent. I don't know about you, but I don't love it.
It is definitely Real Dill, not Real Deal. Playing along his first name, Dillon. His father is in his corner, and this, in every sense of the word, is a family affair for the Price family.
Yeah, the dad had, David Price had 1 pro fight, and that was it. And when you look at Dillon Price, he could pass for 5th grade. I mean, he looks like a baby.
It's amazing. He has a younger brother who's 14, who looks like he's about 9. They all have that gene, who is number 1 in his division in the United States right now. So he's another kid to look for in the future. But tonight it's Dillon Price, who made his professional debut in February of 2017. Knocked his opponent out in 1 minute of round number 1. One of 6 knockouts in his 8 wins.
And I'm not claiming that Dillon Price is the biggest puncher I've ever seen because I've never seen him before. But it does bother me when I hear people talk about the lighter weight classes that they can't punch. There aren't punchers. That's just simply not true. Statistically, there are many 115, 112, 108-pound fighters who are huge punchers. And maybe not quite as many as in the higher weights, but there are plenty of guys who can punch. So just because Dillon is 115 pounds does not mean he can't punch.
A New Jersey prospect, born in Philadelphia, lives in Sicklerville, New Jersey. 20 years of age, Dillon Price. Rounder 1 of 8 in the super flyweight division. Price and Gutierrez.
And Brent, what we're seeing is something very different than we saw in the first fight, where Kareem Martin came to his opponent right away and established. In this fight, it's pretty clear that Dillon is looking to use a little bit of the ring and counterpunch, establish the jab, and try to get Gutierrez to come to him.
Well, people might remember Dillon Price. He got a knockout victory on the undercard of Wilder Brazil just a few weeks back. And now he's on the ropes. Gutierrez aggressive early on here in this first round. You talked about it with Avila, who lost the first fight, as Gutierrez, he's absolutely all over Price. He's got him on the ropes here in round 1. But a guy like Gutierrez, who comes in with a losing record, 16, 23, and 6. Listen, these guys, he's been in a lot of fights. There has to be a place in boxing for guys with losing records.
There sure are, and you know it starts early. Gutierrez was matched very tough at a young age. He was 21 years old when he fought the Puerto Rican Mick Williams Arroyo, world-class fighter. He fought Luis Yanez at the same age, a U.S. Olympian. So this guy's been tossed to the wolves at a very, very young age.
What do you think of Price in this first round?
A little tentative. He's been effective with the jab, and he's keeping Gutierrez at bay with the jab. I think he rode with that right hand at the bell. But it seems to me he needs to use the ring and not get muscled by a bigger opponent.
Gutierrez took this fight on 1 month notice. Strong, aggressive fighter, and we saw that in round 1.
Yeah, I think it was Dillon Price's round. Gutierrez had a couple of moments. Right uppercut from a distance, a punch you don't see too often. Samuel Gutierrez is 30 years old. He's 10 years older than Dillon Price. And when you look at Gutierrez's record, recent record, you see some little draws and losses, but against fighters with records like 10-0, 8-0. So he's a trial horse for young fighters like Dillon Price. And this is, by the way, Dillon Price's first scheduled 8-round fight.
Yeah.
He's been a 6-round fighter until now.
And again, he got that knockout on the undercard of Wilder Brazil back on May 18th. Beat Manuel Salvador Manzo. Price as an amateur was 112-12. So he is used to winning fights almost all the time. Round 2 of 8 in the super flyweight division. Opens up with some stiff jabs. Tripled that one up there to start the second round. And another jab from Price, and then the right.
Because Dillon Price is only 115 pounds, call it junior bantamweight, call it super flyweight, whatever you want to call it, he has a problem that's inherent for smaller fighters from the East Coast. You have to bring in fighters from Mexico to fight you because there's nobody local who weighs what you weigh. Very few East Coast fighters weigh 115 pounds.
Nice counter left and then a couple of hooks. Then going over the top is Price, more aggressive in round 2.
Yeah, some good body work as well.
Gutierrez, pretty good body work in his own right.
And you see Price switching to Southpaw, which he said he does. And now switching back.
Back to orthodox here. Dillon, the real Dill Price. 8-0, 6 knockouts coming in. We talked about the family, and at length. I mean, that's all these guys wanted to talk about yesterday, and credit them. They are very proud of this team and how everybody within the family is involved in that relationship. And you touched on it earlier. It doesn't always work out that way, father-son combos, but this appears to be a match made in heaven with Dillon and his father David in his corner.
Yeah, and I think David Price did something very smart. He brought in Nate Campbell, a former lightweight champion of the world, who's part of the crew. And Nate Campbell was a very smart lightweight fighter, and he adds a lot to the team. Nice short shots. But Gutierrez certainly does not seem discouraged. Now, maybe he can't match Dillon Price's work rate.
Nice combination there. He's got Gutierrez on the ropes. 45 seconds in round 2.
That was a beautifully timed counter right hand by Dillon Price. And Dillon Price, like Gervonta Davis, promoted by Floyd Mayweather. And he's been promoted by Floyd since he's 18 years old. Imagine being 18 years old and having Floyd Mayweather say to you, I want to sign you. That's, you know, pretty heady stuff for a young fighter.
And the relationship with Floyd Sr. goes all the way back to 2010. And Floyd Sr. started inviting him out to Las Vegas, and he spent most of his summers growing up making trips out to Vegas to work with him and that team. The bell in round 2 in the books. Dillon Price, 20 years old. 8-round super flyweight division. Steve in a little bit of a feeling out process in round 1, and round 2 Dillon went after a little bit, and we got to see some of the reasons that people are so high on this youngster.
Yeah, he moved his hands really fast, and he banged the body a lot. That's a very smart move. Again, you want to, when you're fighting a trial horse, you want to remind the trial horse that he is a trial horse. You want to take away his will to win. And Price did some of that in round 2, although I think Gutierrez is still competitive, which is exactly what you need in a fight like this.
This is Dillon's first time since his first ever fight, fighting at this weight class at super flyweight. He's a natural-born talent, they say, and they certainly have designs on him being a superstar to come. Fast, slick, and he can throw any punch, combined with a lot of heart.
And he's 8-0, Brent, but he hasn't faced yet an opponent with a winning record. And, you know, you'd say, well, are they scared to match him tough? No, they're not scared. He's 20 years old. He's only had 8 fights. And you know, your first 10, maybe sometimes your first 15 fights should be gimmies, because you want to learn and you want to get the confidence. You want to see what you can do. And he obviously hasn't developed his man strength yet. We talked about that with him yesterday.
Talked about that with his dad at length. His dad is not just his father and coach, but his pastor, his psychologist, his strength trainer, and most importantly, his best friend. Big right over the top there from Price in this opening minute of round 3.
And Price just switched to southpaw and then very quickly switched back to right-handed. I don't understand why fighters today are doing that so often. I come from an era where there were a few southpaws. They stayed southpaws. Right-handers stayed right-handers. There are very few fighters who can switch successfully. There are some, but not that many. And I think a fighter should master, again, we see him going southpaw now. A fighter should master a certain style before he tries to keep switching somewhat indiscriminately. I don't like it.
Is that coming from his corner, or is he just kind of doing it on the fly?
Well, we always ask a fighter, why do you switch when you do switch? And most of them say it's instinctive. You know, they don't plan it. Sometimes they see something that maybe a straight left can do that a straight right can't do. But for the most part, it's instinctive. And it's a copycat mentality, because so many fighters today are doing it.
Minute 20 left in round 3. Price and Gutierrez, the second of 3 on the preliminary card. Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live. You see that countdown top right. As these two going after it, trading body punches at the center of the ring. Gutierrez counters back, and then that stiff, snapping jab from Price. And then back with a couple of shots inside with the left from Price.
And this is one of those fights, Brent, where I think
couple uppercuts, hard lefts.
Is he hurt? Let's see. No, he's still punching back. But this is one of those fights where you throw the record out the window, because Gutierrez 16-23-6, but he's serving the exact purpose he was brought here for, to give Dillon Price a decent go.
Late moments of round 3. Price, white trunks trimmed in blue. And Gutierrez, the 30-year-old journeyman, 16-23-6. Left hook to the body and a beauty. 10 seconds in round 3. His corner telling him to get his hands up. Price And the bell in the end of round number 3 in this super flyweight battle. Short uppercut. And his left hook to the body from Gutierrez, but there's that counter left from Price.
And what you see with Gutierrez, he's getting hit a lot. He's getting hit by almost every punch there. He's not moving at all. He's not lifting his feet. He's always in range. He's always in Price's range. That's one of the reasons he's getting hit so much. But he's not using his stool, as you can see, so he's not that tired.
His trainer is Jorge Leon Nieves. There in the black t-shirt, black hat. Well, the first fight tonight went 3. It was a TKO victory for Kareem Martin of Washington, D.C. And this one enters round number 4 of 8. Super flyweights. Price in the white trunks, trimmed in blue. Gutierrez in the silver trunks, trimmed in white.
And to put this in further perspective, we mentioned that Price is 20 and his opponent Gutierrez is 30. But Gutierrez has fought 234 rounds as a pro. He's fought 45 pro fights against a baby like Price, who's fought 30 rounds and only 8 fights. So this is a common and familiar formula for a young fighter to take somebody like this who's not really a threat to win, but is tough enough to let you work. And maybe, who knows, maybe even go 8 rounds. We'll see.
Coming back there with a flurry of shots. Right to the body and then straight down the middle with that left from Price. Price with a big right and a couple more to the head of Gutierrez, who wants more here.
Among the many lessons young fighters learn, you can't knock everybody out. Sometimes you land clean shots, as Dillon Price is doing. And Gutierrez isn't going anywhere. And there's a lesson to be learned there. It's a humbling thing for a young fighter to realize I can be on my game. I can box perfectly, and I may have to go the distance.
Price certainly trying to get him out of there in round 4, but as you said, Gutierrez not going anywhere. Center of the ring here with halfway through round number 4.
Gutierrez has been stopped 8 times in his 23 losses. So it's not like he's never been stopped.
Two fighters trading body blows and back to the center. Straight left up top there from Price.
I don't see a lot of power from Price, but one thing he does do well and can do, which is land shots and then take a step to the side instead of going straight back where you can get hit. So he's somewhat slick in that way and somewhat mature for a 20-year-old in that sense.
Yeah, pretty good movement in this fight from Price, and that was part of the scouting report on him. When you say man strength, that it hasn't come in yet for him, when does it generally come in for a fighter like Dillon Price?
Well, I think for a fighter his size, it's going to come in earlier than it would for a light heavyweight or a middleweight.
He's trading blows right now, and a big right, and then a couple of left hooks to the body of Gutierrez. A straight right from Price. Good action here in round 4. Final 10 seconds. You saw Price shaking his head, saying those shots are not touching him from Gutierrez. Price is a fun guy to watch, no doubt about that, and we knew that coming in.
And in his own way, Gutierrez is fun to watch too because he's so tough. Every time he does something a lot of veteran fighters do. Every time he swallows 4 or 5 clean shots, he comes back with something to show the referee and to show his opponent that he's still in the fight.
I feel like guys like that really get overlooked in a big way. We talk so much about the undefeated guys and the prospects, and a guy like Gutierrez, that he's doing this to make a living, right?
He's, we used to call him his type of guy's a paycheck fighter. But the reason he's had so many fights is because he's in demand, because he will give an effort. Nobody wants to see somebody fall down the first time they get hit. This is not Gutierrez. He's tough. He's been stopped a bunch of times. He's been matched tough his entire career. And there's certainly a need for a fighter like this in the development of a young fighter like Price.
How important is it for Price to get him out of there before the 8th?
Actually, I think in this case, Price going 8 hard rounds would be more beneficial than getting a stoppage.
Round number 5, second half of the fight begins. Super flyweights. Dillon Price, Samuel Gutierrez. Price is 8-0, 6 knockouts, lives in Sicklerville, New Jersey, born in Philadelphia, 20 years of age. Nicknamed the Real Dill. With his father, David, in his corner.
You with me on that Real Dill thing or no? What do you think?
Well, if you wouldn't have said anything, I would have left it alone. But no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm with you. Yes, okay. I'm with you on it. Having a little trouble hopping on board.
Hey, he's young. He has plenty of time for a new nickname. You know? See Gutierrez still walking to Price.
He's standing straight in front of him, taking these punches. Nice combination there from Dillon. Gutierrez having fun in there.
He is. This is his kind of fight.
Go hold, box out, go hold.
And Price unabashedly holding on there for the first time.
Price took a left to the head from Gutierrez, comes back to the body. Couple of shots to the head with the left from Price.
Price has been down once in his pro career.
Box out, don't hold, box out.
It seems to me that the small problem Price is having is when he's not on attack and he's not playing defense. Moments like this where he's not really doing anything and you see him get hit with a left hook. Navigating these moments where he's not on offense, not on defense, really just killing time. And killing time is a skill for a fighter. When you don't want to fight, you want to control the tempo. Fight when you want to fight.
And a kid at this stage, you want him to grow in different aspects in every fight that he takes. Heard you recently on a podcast, the Showtime Boxing Podcast, and one thing I thought was interesting is you're not a huge fan of the heavyweights. You're a guy that really appreciates this style right here.
You know, I think it was because when I was a kid, they used to show fights from Mexico City on UHF television, delayed tape. And I saw all these Mexican fighters, and they were very, very rarely would they show a heavyweight. And I came to love Pepino Cuevas and some of the great Carlos Zarate and some of the great Mexicans. And, you know, to me, you get a good heavyweight fight 1 out of every 10, maybe.
Yeah.
When you get that one good one, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, Joshua Klitschko and Wilder Ortiz and fights like that. But you also get a lot of holding and sloppiness, and I prefer the lighter weight guys.
Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live. 9 Eastern on Showtime. Will be the main card. Get your free trial at Showtime.com. Gervonta Davis, hometown kid, super featherweight champion of the world. Take on Ricardo Nunez. Going to be really fun, and it's going to be electric inside Royal Farms Arena later on tonight.
It sure is, and the guys upstairs were talking about the expectations and pressure on a fighter who's having a homecoming fight. I don't know. I think you just sense in being around the fighter whether he relishes the pressure or whether he's affected negatively by it. And I get the impression Gervonta Davis was made for these moments and enjoys it, much like his mentor Floyd Mayweather.
Yep. And Yuri Gamboa and Roman Martinez, as well as Ladarius Miller and Jezreel Corrales. The main card over on Showtime. You see the countdown to that main card in the top right portion of your screen. Round number 6 of 8. Super flyweight division. Price. Young upcoming prospect, 8-0, 6 knockouts coming in against Samuel Gutierrez.
Gutierrez is saying, wasn't this a fight a couple of rounds ago? I think maybe Price in his head realizes now, stick the jab, win the round, mix in occasional power shots, but this guy's probably not going to go. And I think he maybe sees that and has altered his approach because of it.
And as you said last round, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. In fact, it might be the best thing for Price to get a full 8 rounds in here.
Exactly. I mean, a 20-year-old kid who's been 8 rounds, that's a good start to your career.
This is his first 8-round fight, as you alluded to, in his professional career. His 9th professional fight, turned pro in February of 2017. He last fought on May 18th.
And he said his dad is his worst critic. His dad's always telling him he's doing stuff wrong. Even he could score a knockout in 7 seconds, and his dad's going to criticize him. And I guess that's a good thing.
I guess so.
Keep him up. Keep him up.
Anything you need to see in the final 120 of this round and the final 2 rounds from Price that you haven't seen already?
You know, he's sharp with his punches. I don't see a big knockout puncher. Maybe that'll come with time, maybe not. But he's dominating the fight whether inside or outside. And he's just in with a tough guy. So I'm not going to hold it against him that he's not getting a stoppage.
Couple of hooks to the body from the real deal. Gutierrez is able to counter back.
By the way, I'm looking at my notes here. Gutierrez once fought as high as 129.5 pounds.
Amazing.
So that gives you an idea of how big he's been, paring down tonight to 115, 116 for him.
And the guys in his corner told you yesterday his best weight is 115. Final 25 seconds, round 6.
You see nice movement after he punches. Nice movement by Price. You are not going to get counter-punched if you do that.
Is he squaring up too much?
A little bit. Yeah, I see it.
Final seconds, round 6. Have you given Price every round to this point?
No doubt. Yeah. Every round. Out-punching Gutierrez in terms of volume, in terms of connects, in terms of jabs, basically dominating the fight.
Right hook to the head there.
Well, they don't give you points for trying, but Gutierrez is trying.
No doubt. A lot of respect for that man here tonight. Jorge Leon Nieves, his trainer.
You know, for some fighters, a fight like this is another day in the office. And that's kind of the way it is for Gutierrez. Yep. When you have a record of a 16, 23, and 6 and you lose a decision, you're not going to go home crying.
No.
You're going to go home saying, did the check cash?
Absolutely. The bell in round 7. Super flyweight, Price, Gutierrez. With Malik Hawkins and Jonathan Steele to come. In the super lightweight division, that one an 8-rounder as well. Work on the inside by Price.
It might be easy for me to say, but I don't think Gutierrez has been seriously hurt this whole fight yet. At least not that we've seen.
No. Took a couple of heavy shots, in particular in round 2, where he was maybe staggered momentarily, but other than that, he keeps coming back for more.
All right, I'm going to tell you one of my pet peeves now, and I'm looking at Dillon Price and I see it. He's boxing with his mouth open. Learning to breathe is part of being a boxer, part of being any professional athlete. You can't box with your mouth open. You have to breathe through your nose. And if you box with your mouth open and you get hit on the chin, you're very likely going to get a busted jaw. And nobody wants to see that. So you have to work on that in the gym.
Yep. Gutierrez calling for more again. Price with a hard shot to the body. Chopping right.
At this point in the fight, I'd say Price, if he were to score a knockdown or a stoppage, more likely to do that to the body at this point than the head.
Watch your head.
Oh, you gotta love Gutierrez. He's not going to win a round, but he's going to win my heart because he's a tough guy.
Price with a flurry back at him. Nice combination from the real Dill. And a big right to the head from Price. Another one. Good job going up and down in this this round from Dillon Price. Couple of left hooks to the body from Price. Big shots. Big shots with the left hook and over the top with the right from Price. He's got Gutierrez on the ropes again, and David Braslow in to break him up.
And during that whole exchange there, you didn't see Gutierrez even try to hold. He's going to fight.
No. The reason this has been an extremely entertaining second fight on this preliminary card. And 1 round to go in this super flyweight bout.
And we take a look at some action. Gutierrez still trying. We talked a little bit about Dillon Price being squared up. You see he's very squared up there. You don't want to be squared up for 2 reasons. One, you're giving your opponent more surface to punch at. And 2, you're not going to get leverage on your shots if your feet are together or parallel. And there you see, look at Dillon Price's feet there. Almost parallel. The right foot, if he's going to be a southpaw, the right foot should be well in front of the left. And it's not. But that's fixable.
Sure.
Correctable. And some of this might be a little bit minor fatigue also, because he's never been 8 rounds before.
I feel like Price has done a pretty good job going up and down later in this round.
Very much so. The body work has been one of the more impressive things about him tonight.
It's your free trial at Showtime.com. Final round in this entertaining super flyweight bout. Price and Gutierrez. 3 minutes to go. A fight dominated by Price, but Gutierrez has certainly been game and then some.
And as we progress, Brent, from fight to fight, I can't wait for the moment when Gervonta Davis, of course I'm looking forward to him fighting,
sure.
But I can't wait for his ring walk, because that's such an exciting time for a young fighter fighting in his hometown. It's going to be great. And I think you'll get a good impression of how he feels about this whole fight and this whole atmosphere and scene by the expression we see on him when he makes his ring walk. Is he nervous? Is he expecting to do too much, or is he just soaking it all in and ready to perform at his best? It'll be interesting to see.
It's going to be electric inside here, and boy, we've talked about maybe an underrated history of boxing, but around the turn of the century, 1902. Joe Gans, one of the greatest lightweights of all time, and then he had a 42-rounder in 1906. You got Hasim Rahman,
right?
Baltimore
Born
native,
in Baltimore,
2001, of course, got the heavyweight title for a short time. He beat Lennox Lewis and Sugar Ray Leonard. About 6 or 7 fights in this building when it was called the Civic Center.
That's right. I was in this building in 1980, I don't know, 2, 3, whatever it was, when Ray Leonard had this big party, this big press conference with Marvin Hagler standing there as a prop and said, "Sorry, Marvin, I'm retiring." Of course, Ray retired a lot and came back a lot,
right.
But that was this building too, because as you mentioned, it was the Baltimore Civic Center before it was Royal Farms Arena.
And Vincent Petway, who was recognized at the weigh-ins yesterday, won the super welterweight title back in 1994.
Yes, and he could punch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good to see him. Got Hall of Famers Kid Williams, George K.O. Cheney, Harry Jeffra from Baltimore. And in the 33 years of boxing on Showtime, this is the first Baltimore-based broadcast. So
hard to believe.
Cool stuff tonight.
Yeah, excellent.
Final minute, final round. Super flyweight Dillon Price has dominated this fight against Gutierrez. Trying to close the show in nice fashion, and this is first ever, Dillon Price's first ever 8-round fight.
All part of the education.
Straight right and a right hook to the head of Gutierrez, who fights right back.
He hasn't landed one yet, maybe the body shot, but he's firing.
He's firing.
And this last round, I think, sums up the fight in its entirety, which is domination by Price and Gutierrez hanging in there.
doing exactly what he was hired to do against a 20-year-old prospect in Dillon Price. Final 5 seconds, and a hats off to both of these men in the ring tonight, putting on a nice 8-round show on this preliminary card of Showtime Championship Boxing Live. Dillon Price is going to win this decision. It'll be handily, but again, hats off to both of these guys, putting on an exciting show.
Good educational fight for Dillon Price. I'm going to go out on a huge limb now and say 3 scores of 80-72, 10-9 every round. Can't see it being any other way.
Sounds right to me. His first 8-round fight, and he went the distance, and you talked about that. That would be probably a positive. He's now 9-0 with the 6 knockouts. What impressed you most about Price?
Well, he has good ring presence. He moves his feet well. Had a nice jab, not a hard jab, but a nice jab he scored with, and he did a lot of really impressive body punching, Brent, excuse me. And I think we saw a lot of little things from him that were impressive. I didn't see a lot of power. Maybe that'll come, maybe it won't. You can win without big power. But at 115 pounds, you know, who knows how long he'll be 115 because he could get that man strength and bulk up to 18 or 22. We'll see. He's a short fighter for his weight, so I don't think he should go up too far.
20 years of age. Looks like he's about 14, but he's now 9-0, and certainly Dillon Price will be a prospect to watch. Lives in Sicklerville, New Jersey, and going to be fun to see just how far his star rises in the near future with his dad, family very involved. His younger brother, Devin, at 95 pounds right now is #1 in the country, and it has been fun to kind of get to know these guys this weekend here in Baltimore as they brought their act to the Charm City.
Exactly. That's one proud papa, David Price. And, you know, I come from an era where it was discouraged for fathers to train their sons. And usually there were a lot of bad vibes when that happened. More lately, much better. Trinidad and his dad, Shane Mosley and his dad, Floyd Mayweather and his dad, at times good, at times bad, but clearly Floyd Sr. taught Floyd Jr. how to fight. So it's an interesting dynamic, and we'll see not only how Dillon Price advances in the ring, but how the dynamic of fighting for his dad turns out.
So it was an first 8-rounder for Dillon Price. It goes the distance. He is going to get the decision on Gutierrez, and we will find out officially here in moments. But obviously, an opportunity against a fighter that was very game and very aggressive to try some different things as we go inside the ring to our ring announcer, Ralph Velez.
The scorecard. Judge Lynn Carter scored the contest 78-74, while John Gradowski and Dave Moretti have it 79-73, all for your winner by unanimous decision. And still undefeated, the real deal, Dillon Price.
So Dillon Price with the unanimous decision victory over Samuel Gutierrez. Ray Flores alongside Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell as we are here in Baltimore getting set for the homecoming of Gervonta Davis as he puts his super featherweight crown on the line against the hard-hitting Panamanian in Ricardo Nunez. Luke, though, your takeaway from Dillon Price, I think we all looked at each other when we saw the 78-74. We thought it was wider than what the judges had it.
I had it just like Steve did. I thought it was a blowout in that sense for Dillon Price. I'll say this, though. I also agree with Steve's analysis generally about the stance switching and whatnot. This was actually a good fight for Dillon Price because foundationally he does do some things well, but they're foundational skills. They have a lot more development to go, and the stance switching is interesting because that's more of an advanced skill set. But Steve is right. You see that across young boxers as well as young kickboxers, young MMA fighters. You can't talk these young whippersnappers out of doing these new cool tricks. So he's got some work to do. That was very valuable for him.
You know, sometimes you switch stances too much, which is something Steve alluded to. You can be caught in the line of fire. You can square up, and I thought maybe Price squared up a little bit too much, as Brent mentioned. But overall, maybe not spectacular, but certainly workmanlike, certainly dominant overall. And one thing, Ray, DeJuan Blake, his manager, been Floyd Mayweather protege for many years, said talking about Dillon Price, he's got natural-born talent, superstar talent, the kind that reminded him when he saw a young Floyd Mayweather for the first time at 20 years old. Big words, of course. He's going to have time to develop and grow and hopefully live up to that promise.
Well, let us not forget Dillon Price is only 20 years of age and already getting some national media attention, so only things going up for Dillon Price. Our next matchup here on the prelims will be none other than Malik Hawkins, who is fighting out of right here in Baltimore, Maryland. He will have his hands full in action in our next matchup.
As a youth, he faced adversity.
6 Pacific time. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Now, Brian, you've been here all week long. What are you gathering from the energy, the build from the fans here in Baltimore as they await for their native son, Gervonta Davis, to put his title on the line?
It's a celebration. Look, Baltimore has had no shortage of professional sports teams that have been in and out of here. This building has no shortage of memories. I mean, Luke doesn't want to hear this, but superstar Billy Graham defeated Bruno Sammartino in that ring behind me for the old WWF championship. But no, on a serious note, we talked about what it means for Gervonta Davis to come back here, to give back to the community, to show people there's another way to some of the troubles that you see embroiled in Baltimore through the years, some of the troubles that he's overcome himself. The attitude, the attention, the buzz this week has been a celebration. He's putting Baltimore back on the map in good ways, certainly in the sport of boxing. And despite a plethora of pro sports teams, the Baltimore Orioles right down the road, Gervonta may be able to come Baltimore's newest sports franchise if he can consistently come back here and draw big crowds.
You know, we were talking about this being a celebration of the career in many ways of Gervonta Davis, and it is. But it's nice to see Baltimore having nice things happen to it. Let's not, I don't want to be overly serious, but this is the city where the Freddie Gray incident happened, which was really terrible and traumatic for the city. All week, it has been a happy occasion. Now, of course, he has to fulfill the promise tonight and make sure he gets past Ricardo Nunez. I'm just pointing out, this is a city that people just kind of look past. You look in that Acela corridor, it's D.C., it's Philly, it's New York, it's Boston. People kind of pass over Baltimore, but not tonight, not here on Showtime.
Well, and also, Gervonta Davis has the second highest knockout percentage. He's tied with Deontay Wilder. Number 1 is Arthur Beterbiev. So when it comes to putting away his opponents, Gervonta Davis knows how to close the show in grand fashion.
And look, let's say for some reason the power doesn't work. Hello? Davis can box. He has excellent movement. He has really good ring IQ. He has a good gas tank to the extent that he needs one. He's been in there with tough guys. He's been in there with guys who are well below his level. I'm just pointing out he's seen a lot of different looks. So when the power's there, great. And when it's not, all the other boxing skills that he needs are in full effect at all times.
And, you know, his trainer Calvin Ford pointed out something this week. He can box, like you mentioned. He can box just fine. Doesn't always get the chance to show it when his opponents are walking into that buzzsaw and getting finished. But that skill is there. That's underneath there. I want to see what happens, though, if Ricardo Nunez, a big puncher like we established, comes in there and does hit him. Nunez has said it straight up to us this week. He not only expects a war, he expects a power war. And he had one thing to say about Gervonta's power, though, Nunez. He says Gervonta puts guys away over time as the rounds accumulate. He says he has natural-born power, fight-defining power, a knockout artist that puts people away with one punch. That's some big talk there from the Panamanian. We're going to find out in the ring behind us tonight.
And Nunez is making his United States debut. He's only fought outside of Panama when he fought in Mexico and now fighting here in the United States. This is a big opportunity for Ricardo Nunez, and he has everything to gain and essentially nothing to lose. So in his mind, he's a big underdog. He's going to come in and throw everything and, for the most part, throw caution to the wind.
And look, he's got a style that is, I wouldn't call it phone booth aggressive, but it's a little bit in your face. He likes to mix his rhythm. He does like to do a ton of body work as well. And if he can corral Davis and he can really showcase those skills, I think people are going to be impressed. Look, and you mentioned, though, he's playing with house money. He won a sort of a weird title and then used that to jump in the rankings, and here he is through some other fortuitous events. So people may not know who El Científico is, but after Saturday, maybe they will.
You know, there's also the idea of potentially playing with fire. I love the confidence of Ricardo Nunez coming in here. I love him talking about it's going to be a big war, a power war, all those things. But he's going to find out how hard Gervonta Davis does punch. Sometimes when you come in with too confident of an attitude, when you walk into oncoming traffic and play a little bit, you could get yourself taken out of there in a hurry. It will be interesting to see, though. One thing he said about Gervonta's style that I want to hear your response to was ultimately, he says, Davis punches in spurts, but then he backs up, and he says if he can time that, there's an opening there.
Yeah, well, that's because he's setting traps. Right, the idea isn't merely that Davis has big power, although he does have that. He'll play with timing and he'll play with space. He'll leap into range in ways a lot of boxers won't because he can. His timing is so good. His athleticism is on point. And of course, he has great accuracy as well. So you're right. He will sometimes not take a round off. I don't think that's true, but maybe take a few spots in a fight off, because all he's doing is getting you to come in at a certain angle, at a certain timing, at a certain rhythm, and then he pops you with it. I'm not going to call it a Hagler Gazelle punch, but it's something kind of similar in the element of surprise.
When it's also very difficult to prepare for someone like a Gervonta Davis who is unorthodox. We saw it last week with Manny Pacquiao fighting Keith Thurman. We've seen it with Deontay Wilder when he's been wiping out his opponents. These guys are not conventional fighters, so it's very difficult to mimic them stylistically inside the ring as you're training for them, Brian.
I mentioned Nunez's confidence. We asked him about the idea of facing a southpaw. He says, look, I'm 4-0 against southpaws. I might be a better fighter against southpaws because I can get that right hand off easier. Davis seems to be a little bit more dynamic than your average southpaw, which is something that you said. Nunez, good confidence again. But when you're saying things like Davis beats opponents more because he's intimidated them because of his name, could be setting you up to fail in that regard. You can back it up with that big right hand, though. We may have a fight. It's going to be fun to find out.
Malik Hawkins is looking to back up Baltimore as he has his hands full with Jonathan Steele. We'll send it down to our ring announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you again to Royal Farms Arena, Baltimore, Maryland. This is Premier Boxing Champions, and this is Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown. This is the next attraction of the evening, 8 rounds of boxing in the super lightweight division. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout will be Lynn Carter, Larry Hazard Jr., and Dave Moretti. And in the ring, the man laying the law when the bell sounds, referee Brent Bovell. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing the colors of the United States Marine Corps. He weighed in officially at 139 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 9 victories, 4 defeats with 1 bout, even 6 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Dallas, Texas, presenting Jonathan Steele. And his opponent fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing orange and black trim trunks. He weighed in officially at 140 1/4 pounds. His professional record, 15 victories, no defeats, 9 of his victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland, presenting Malik Iceman Hawkins. Once again, referee Brent Bovell for instructions.
All right, we went over instructions in the dressing room. I want you to obey my commands at all times, protect yourselves at all times. Let's touch them up.
Malik Iceman Hawkins takes on Jonathan Steele. Super lightweight 8-round fight, and we are excited to see what Hawkins has to offer here tonight in his home city of Baltimore, part of the Gervonta Davis stable. The bell and round number 1.
Really looking forward to seeing Hawkins. He's on my short list for top prospects.
15-0, 9 knockouts. Jonathan Steele 9-4-1, 6 KOs.
He got rocked. Hawkins is hurt.
Hawkins hurt early on. Coming flying out of his corner is Steele, and he is setting the early tone. Big overhand right. Couldn't quite land that right hook, but he is walking down Hawkins to start this one.
And Hawkins should be doing a little bit of holding or a little bit of moving, one or the other, but when you have this much time left in a round, you don't want to make yourself vulnerable by trading, because he certainly got hit with 3 or 4 flush shots. Steele's a tough guy. And Steele said to us yesterday, Brent, I can take more punishment than you can, and that's why I'm going to beat you. That's an interesting approach, but...
At one point when he was playing football growing up, he was over 200 pounds. He's a slot back and punt return man. Started doing weights in 6th grade, benched 345 at his junior year in high school.
Yeah, pretty amazing athlete. I think he told us also he's run some super marathons. Or
Absolutely. An ultra marathon just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In 10 hours, 36 minutes, 50 miles.
Takes me that long to get crosstown to Manhattan.
Exactly. He is not afraid, he says, to reach another level in terms of out-of-body experience when it comes to taking pain.
And he is bringing it. These guys are going at it in this first round.
Straight right there, and a nice one from Malik Hawkins, the Iceman. Minute left in round number 1 of 8.
Hawkins has been fighting heavier. He's down to 140, super lightweight or junior welterweight, whatever you want to call it. And when you're as tall as he is, he's a 6-foot fighter. That's it's good to be able to fight lower. You have increased physical advantages on your opponents.
He told us he fights better on the inside than most tall fighters. Very comfortable in there. Now he's trying to steal this first round in the closing minute, but Steele right back at him.
Yeah, Hawkins going to have to do something pretty dramatic to win this round, because that first 15 or 20 seconds, that was a pretty scary time for him. But he's shown some resiliency.
Nice uppercut, and then follows it with a right, does Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins has won the remainder of the round, but did Steele do enough in those first 20 seconds to take it?
10 seconds in round 1. Hawkins and Steele. Super lightweights. And a quiet close to a pretty eventful round number 1.
And you see lots of trading on the inside. Brent mentioned that Hawkins likes to fight on the inside. Maybe perhaps more than his physical dimensions would suit him. And for the second fight in a row, we have a fighter not using a stool.
Jonathan Steele. He said, it's not about the record. I'm going to give you an entertaining fight. I'm fighting to feed my kids. 1-year-old boy, Sage, 3-year-old girl named Phoenix. And you can tell he just loves what he does for a job, and that's how he treats this thing.
Very competitive guy. He's been a sparring partner for Terrence Crawford, for Adrian Broner, for Errol Spence.
Jamel Herring is like his big brother as well, he says.
Well, Steele was a former Marine, right?
Yep, just like Herring. Cool story there, yep.
Yeah, very impressive young man.
28 years of age against the 23-year-old Malik Iceman Hawkins. So you gave round 1 to Steele?
Yeah, reluctantly so, because Hawkins did so much good work later in the round, but I still feel, it's the hurt business, and if a fighter's hurt, as I thought Hawkins was early in the fight, in the round, give the other guy the round.
Good test here for Hawkins. Fought only twice in 2017, only once in 2018. Had kind of a bad deal out of the ring with his manager, and then the combination of a bad cut that lasted under his eye for a long time, and not a good promotional deal, but here he is in 2019 and going to start fighting more often, clearly.
And what you see in boxing a lot, and Hawkins is a good example of this, he's tied in with the Gervonta Davis camp, and that means he's going to get opportunities. He's going to get opportunities on cards like this. He's going to get television opportunities. That's all very valuable. That's something not every young fighter gets.
He wants to fight again, Hawkins does, in September and November as well of this year. 93-8 as an amateur, Hawkins. And 15-0 as a professional. Rock Steele back there. Steele steps in for more.
Now, is Hawkins trying to look like Odell Beckham? Is that the goal?
Whether or not he's trying, he certainly does with that hair. Or Charlo as well. Couple of nice shots to the body, and the chopping left, a left hook to the body, and a straight right from Hawkins has Steele in trouble in the corner. He is eating leather right now. Couple of more straight rights and an uppercut from Hawkins.
Well, Steele told us I can take more punishment than the other guy.
He's taking it right here.
He's testing it.
In round 2, straight right after straight right. Fires in some left hooks is Hawkins. And as advertised in terms of his ability on the inside.
This is a crackling fight, and right now, Hawkins very possibly punching himself out a little bit, understandably so. This next 30 seconds, I would say that Steele is going to be particularly dangerous.
20 seconds in round 2. A cracking second round from Hawkins and Steele. I thought Steele was a little bit rocked, but he's coming back here to close out this second. Well, if Hawkins wanted a test tonight, he's getting one.
He's getting one for sure. And I'm not counting punches, but I bet you they both threw over 100 shots that round.
Straight rights doing damage, and then right and left hooks into the body and back to the head.
And given Steele's style, he was almost welcoming this onslaught from Odell Beckham.
The Iceman, Hawkins, fighting in his hometown of Baltimore for the first time in nearly 4 years. We've talked at length that he's a stablemate of Gervonta Davis. And we asked him what he's learned from Davis, and he said, be an animal at all times, stay smart, stay humble, and learn from your mistakes. Gervonta will be the headliner tonight. The WBA Super Featherweight Champion of the World as he takes on Ricardo Nunez. That main card begins at 9 Eastern, only on Showtime. Both fighters come out swinging again here in round 3.
Yeah, the pace has been great.
Big shots from both. Couple left hooks from Steele.
Brent, you talked about the test for Hawkins. Maybe a little bigger test than they were expecting or hoping for.
Exactly.
So far, anyway.
Hawkins coached by Calvin Ford. His trainer, Kenny Ellis. 2 minutes to go in round 3. Steele eating some shots here from Hawkins. Hawkins. Every time Hawkins lands a couple of shots, Steele has been able to answer back.
And consistently, Hawkins negates that reach advantage by stepping forward and making it an in-fight. That's just the nature of how he fights. Yeah. That's how he wants to fight.
6 foot tall. You don't see it all that often with a fighter of his size.
Yeah, 140-pounder, 6 foot. It's unusual. It'll be interesting to see if this pace remains the way it's been. We mentioned Hawkins fighting lighter, 3-4 pounds lighter than he's used to, and dropping down to junior welterweight, super lightweight. Will he get a little bit of, will he feel weak? Sometimes that happens when you fight lighter than you are accustomed to.
Steele's corner led by trainer Roger Rodas, imploring him to fire to the body and move. Short chopping right. Left hook, another left, and an uppercut from Hawkins.
Well, if nothing else, Steele is making Hawkins work. There's no resting in this fight. And how many times have they clinched? Hardly at all.
Hardly at all. In any of the 3 fights we've seen so far tonight. Been entertaining stuff. Kareem Martin, TKO after 3 rounds in the first fight. Dillon Price went the distance against Gutierrez. Got a unanimous decision. And here Malik Hawkins is getting a stiff test, at least early on in the first half of this fight, from Jonathan Steele. All leading up to the main card at 9 Eastern on Showtime. Headlined by Baltimore native and WBA super featherweight champ of the world, Gervonta Davis, taking on Ricardo Nunez. And some very good fighters at the top of the super featherweight division. And some fighters from the weight just below that have been calling Gervonta Davis out in recent days.
Yeah, that's always a sign that you're making it, that you're becoming a star, when fighters calling you out, and big name fighters are calling Gervonta Davis out. Some featherweights like Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell,
Tevin Farmer,
Tevin Farmer, and Gervonta have had a war of words on multiple platforms. But that would be a good fight.
If Gervonta wins over Nunez tonight on Showtime, who would you like to see him fight next?
Well, he needs 2 things. He needs adequate competition, and he needs name opposition. So I want it to be somebody, Leo Santa Cruz would be great, because there's never a bad fight with Leo Santa Cruz, even though he'd be moving up in weight yet again. Tevin Farmer would be a great fight too. I think with Gervonta's style, it's really hard to make a bad fight. So I assume that was a push. Yeah, I'll take any of them. I really would. I'd be very happy with any of those fights. And who knows what we're going to get tonight, because the way Nunez talks, we might get a war tonight. Who knows? Now, Nunez, will he keep his promise of making it a punch-a-thon once he gets hit? Because you know the old Mike Tyson saying, everybody has a plan till they get hit in the mouth, right?
Exactly.
Let's see when he feels Gervonta Davis's power, if he's going to continue to want to make it a brawl. We'll see.
Ricardo Nunez is 21-2 coming in. 19 of his 21 wins by knockout. Steele with a nice counter left. Rocking Hawkins there. Round number 4 of 8, super lightweight division, Hawkins and Steele.
And if you want to see Hawkins take advantage of his reach, you're disappointed, because that's really not what he's doing. Right now his hands are down. He's stepping back a little bit, trying to establish some distance. But for the most part, a lot of this fight has been fought on the inside, which I think is just his nature. And it makes it difficult for his trainer. Do you want to try to teach him to maximize that reach, the effectiveness of that reach, or do you want him to be himself?
We certainly know that Hawkins is not overlooking the opponent. He said he treats every opponent like it's Mike Tyson. But his opponent is Jonathan Steele tonight, and he has come to fight, at least in the first half of this one.
Steele letting go there, but I think for the first time there's been a little bit of a lull in the action in this round, after 3 pretty furious rounds, 1 through 3.
Final 30 seconds of round 4. Hawkins, right hook. Comes back with a left. Good work there, getting in and out. And 10 seconds in round 4. And we are halfway through this super lightweight fight. 4 of 8 in the books. Brent Stover, the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood. Who do you give the advantage to right now through 4 rounds?
Well, it's interesting that Hawkins kind of changed his style a little bit there, Brent, in that second half of that last round, because he was moving, trying to establish distance. If he does that, he has to jab. If he doesn't jab, then he's negating his reach. So it'll be interesting to see in the second half of the fight whether he slows the pace, as it was slowed in round 4, and tries to use those natural advantages that he has instead of making it an in-fight, which is clearly what Jonathan Steele wants.
Certainly in these fights, there's one guy that's the star prospect on the rise. And then there's the other guy. In this case, Steele is the other guy. But what have you seen from him that you like?
He's a tough guy. I mean, he says that I can take more punishment than you, and I think he means it. He may not be the most skilled guy in the world, started boxing a little later than most people, but a great test, and you can see why he's a sparring partner to so many stars.
Steele comes out gunning here in round number 5. Hawkins has never been beaten, 15-0. And 9 knockouts. Some body work to begin this 5th round from Hawkins.
And you can make the point that, you know, what do we see from Hawkins? What's positive? Maybe the most positive thing so far at the halfway mark is that he weathered that early storm, that scare he had in the first 20 or so seconds of round 1.
Couple of nice straight rights to the body. Liver shots here from Hawkins. And then goes up top with a straight right.
Seems Hawkins gets a little more leverage on his right hand, his straight right hand, than his hook. Not unusual for a tall fighter. Got rocked there by a right hand.
Steele trying to cut off the ring here. And Hawkins bobbing and weaving. 140 in round 5.
So I guess I got my answer to my question about whether Hawkins was going to try to fight from the distance a little bit more. He's not. We're right back to the inside.
Back inside with a right uppercut.
See, where's the jab? He's got a jab. And Hawkins isn't jabbing.
Lead right there, right hook to the head. Missed with a couple, but not with that left hook. And now Steele taking some punishment inside the final minute of round 5.
Malik Hawkins is a good puncher, and you get the impression that despite that, there's just something tough about Jonathan Steele, and he's never been stopped. And you get the impression that he's going to find a way to get to the end. Whether he wins or loses this fight, he's going to get to the end of 8 rounds.
See Quan on the front of his trunks. That was his father's name. Steele's father was murdered back in 2012. Well, Jonathan certainly fighting for his father's memory. As we said earlier, and a quote from him, to feed my kids. All I want to do is be a dad, and this boxing allows me to do that. It's my lifestyle. Final 10 seconds of round 5. And 3 rounds to go for the Iceman Malik Hawkins. And he's not using the jab as much as you'd like to see.
That's for sure. You see a lot of power shots coming here from Hawkins. A little bit squared up. The fact that we can see his entire back in that shot tells you left foot's not in front of the right foot. I mean, he definitely has long arms. He's not just 6 feet tall. He has very long arms, and he's not taking full advantage of it. When you're tall, you want to land that straight right hand at exactly the right distance. Pronate your punch, catch him at the end of the punch, but punch through your opponent. And it's not always that easy to do for tall fighters. But when they do connect perfectly, there's usually very dramatic results.
The bell in round 6. The finale of 3 fights on this preliminary card, part of Showtime Championship Boxing Live Countdown. And you see that clock in the top right, inside of 50 minutes until the main card on Showtime, featuring Gervonta Davis and Ricardo Nunez. Davis, the WBA super featherweight champion of the world, fighting in his hometown of Baltimore, fighting here, defending his world title for the first time.
And Brent, I think somebody said something to Hawkins about jabbing because he threw more jabs in the first 40 seconds of this round than he has in the whole fight. Let's see if he maintains it.
Calvin Ford, Kenny Ellis in Hawkins' corner. He's walking Steele down here. A couple of nice left hooks from Hawkins.
You can imagine how badly Hawkins wants a knockout. Let's not forget he's from Baltimore.
Yep.
He's only fought here a couple of times. First time he's fought here in 4 years.
And a pretty nice crowd began to fill out here when he came to the ring for this third and final preliminary fight. Baltimore native Malik Hawkins.
And we talked before about how being a stablemate of Gervonta Davis is a positive because you can get opportunities, you can get exposure. But at some point, a fighter like this who's now had, what, 15 fights, he wants to make his own name. You know, and one of the ways you do that is color your hair the way he's done it. And another way is by scoring some knockouts. So
he said, I want to be in Gervonta's spot by the end of this year or next year.
That's ambitious.
That's very ambitious. But they're like brothers, and it's been pretty much coming up at every level. From elementary school, junior high, into high school, they have been, basically Hawkins has been the shadow of Tank Davis.
I think he said second grade, right? When they met?
That's right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And they have sparred a ton together and learned a lot from each other. Inside the final minute of round 6.
And if you're considering the 8-round distance, Hawkins has been as long as 10 one time. So 8 shouldn't be a problem.
Steele coming back from more, eats a shot there from Hawkins.
See, the work rate of Steele dropped significantly.
Well, he came out in the first 15 seconds, guns blazing in this one. And he rocked Hawkins right from the get-go. Left hook to end the round there from Malik Hawkins. 6 rounds in.
And that's Calvin Ford working the corner there with the water bottle.
Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live. 46 minutes until the main card on Showtime. Gervonta Davis, Ricardo Nunez. This the third of the 3 preliminary fights. Showtime streaming platforms. And we saw Kareem Martin take care of his opponent, Luis Avila, with a 3rd-round TKO in the opening fight, super lightweight fight. Dillon Price went the distance against Samuel Gutierrez, got a unanimous decision. And now Malik Hawkins and Jonathan Steele into the waning rounds of this super lightweight bout. The bell in round 7.
Such a big night, Brent, for Baltimore.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, God bless casinos because they've kept boxing alive, and Lord knows there have been big fights in Vegas. We've all enjoyed them. But there's something about fighting in a town you're from with real live fans, not just casino patrons, that makes boxing that much better.
And inside this arena, there's so many awesome new venues, right? To host fights, and this thing has been around for a long, long time. This Royal Farms Arena, formerly the Civic Center, and it's got some character to it, just like this city. And as you said, with Gervonta Davis fighting in his hometown, and a guy like Malik Hawkins trying to put on a show in front of his home fans as well, it's a fun night here on Showtime.
Crab cakes, Camden Yards, and Gervonta Davis.
That's right.
That's a good trifecta.
Exactly. See what Hawkins can do in the final half of round 7 against a very tough opponent in Jonathan Steele.
Steele's last 8 fights have gone the distance. And I think we're going to make that 9, it looks like.
Hawkins trying to measure the distance with that jab that Hasn't used enough of in this fight. Gets on the inside and delivers.
Well, Steele may have won the first 30 seconds of the first round, but I don't know if he's won any rounds since.
It's been a Hawkins since. It's thrown over the ropes. Brent Bovell, referee, gets in between them. We haven't had to see much of that in this fight. Another reason it's been entertaining.
Very true.
Big left hook to the head from Hawkins. And a straight right, splitting the guard, and another one from Malik Hawkins.
A couple of times now I've noticed Hawkins looking to his left, to his, I guess that's his corner that he's looking at. Not a wise thing to do. Take your eyes off your opponent at any point. These punches sharp and they're landing, but they're not being thrown with a lot of speed. But because Steele is so confrontational and wants to fight, he's walking onto some of these punches.
Final 10 seconds in round 7. Steele trying to close with a flurry here. And 7 rounds in. And Hawkins will go back to his corner and get ready for the final 3 minutes.
This was early in the round. You could see they're fighting again on the inside. Big left hook. One of the best punches of the fight for Hawkins. He's turned into a southpaw stance there. I'm not so sure it was by choice, just by the way his body moved after he punched.
Well, he's been prone to keep this fight on the inside. Is that going to be something he continues to do, or is he going to have to fight going forward more on the outside?
Well, ideally he could do a little bit of both, master both. That might be asking a lot. I think you have to let a fighter be what he is. You know, he compared himself a little bit to Diego Corrales, the great junior light and lightweight champion who was a tall fighter who fought well on the inside. We all remember Riddick Bowe, who was a big heavyweight, 6'5" heavyweight, who fought very well on the inside. You have to be what you are and what you're comfortable at. Doesn't mean you can't learn to fight the other way, but ultimately you're going to do what you're comfortable doing.
In the super lightweight division, final round of 8 between Hawkins and Steele. Trading punches center of the ring. Hawkins with a couple of big body shots, and then he eats leather to the face, a couple from Hawkins. Nice right uppercut, and then a left uppercut from Hawkins.
Steele competitive till the end, trying. Doesn't have the power to do anything serious, it seems. But he's letting his hands go.
And Hawkins, meanwhile, trying to close the show in style in round 8 in front of his hometown Baltimore fans.
And what you've seen both in the Dillon fight, the Dillon Price fight, and this fight, you've seen good matchmaking.
Absolutely.
You know, you want the house fighter to win, yes, especially if he's young and developing, but you want him to learn too.
He's landed about 4 uppercuts, Hawkins has in this final round, and another there. Halfway through round 8. Super lightweights.
You know, Hawkins looks a little bit like Odell Beckham,
He
too,
absolutely
doesn't he, in the
does.
face, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Like he could be an NFL wide receiver with that build.
And it was Steele that was the football player. Picture this kid, he's fighting tonight at about 140. Picture him at 208.
208.
It's hard to imagine.
As a slot back and a punt return man.
I wouldn't want to have to tackle him when he was 208, I'll tell you that.
Final minute, round 8. Now Hawkins working Steele to the ropes. Nice combination on the inside there from Hawkins. And a left uppercut.
And a good pace to this last round.
I think Hawkins is going to feel pretty good about the way he closed this fight out.
I'm with you.
Another good combination there.
And the reason he should feel good is because of the quality of the opposition.
Boy, you nailed it. The matchmaking was right on, particularly with these last two fights. Enough of a test. And you know what? Hats off to Jonathan Steele, because he gave Malik Hawkins a pretty good test here tonight in this 8-rounder. But Hawkins in his hometown with a nice 8th round. Good sportsmanship from both guys, and Malik Hawkins with another nice step on his way up. Malik Hawkins, we feel like he did more than enough to win a decision here, and again, he got rocked a little bit in the first 20 seconds. Credit him with coming back right away and then sustaining it the rest of the way.
It's a cliche, but he got caught cold, you know. And Jonathan Steele is probably going to run an ultramarathon tomorrow.
Exactly. So. Amazing. Jonathan Steele, good job by him, providing a workmanlike effort. And Hawkins was able to get it done on the inside in a good combination. Particularly, I thought in that final round showed a little bit of everything. Was able to get in and land some uppercuts and some hooks as well.
Yeah, I think I don't feel any differently about Hawkins than I did before. I still think he's a top prospect. Yeah, he didn't get the stoppage tonight. Some guys just don't get knocked out. We talked about that before in the previous fight. He's 23 years old. He's been 10 rounds. And he's going to get opportunities being with Calvin Ford and being with Gervonta Davis, being part of that team. So he is a prospect to watch, and I think one of the better ones on the U.S. boxing scene.
We've talked about it with Gervonta Davis. There can be obviously pressures. There's a ton of advantages to fight in front of your home crowd. But this was a good crowd out here to watch Malik Hawkins from Baltimore as well, and you wonder what kind of an effect that had on him in this fight.
Yeah, exactly, because he hasn't had as many big fights as Gervonta Davis, who's been a title fight kind of fighter for a few years now. Hawkins, this was a big deal. Again, he hasn't fought in Baltimore very much. I think only his 3rd fight here. So did he try too hard for a knockout? I don't think so. I think his attack was measured, and I think he won pretty much every round after, maybe even won the 1st round. I don't know. I didn't score it for him, but you could make the argument. So he did what he had to do against a very tough opponent, and very valuable fight for him, I think.
Malik Iceman Hawkins, 23 years of age. Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis, two of the greats in the sport, in his corner. It'll be fun to see where he goes from here. He was 93-8 as an amateur, and looking with this one tonight to get to 16-0 inside the ring for Ralph Velez.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I read the scorecards, a round of applause for both fighters, please. After 8 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Lynn Carter scored the contest 78-74, while judges Larry Hazard Jr. and Dave Moretti scored the contest 79-73 for your winner by unanimous decision. From Baltimore, Maryland, he is still undefeated, Malik Iceman Hawkins.
So Malik Hawkins picks up the 16th victory of his professional career, remaining undefeated with a unanimous decision victory over Jonathan Steele. Again, you are watching Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live, getting you set for Gervonta Davis as he makes his homecoming, putting his world title on the line against Ricardo Nunez. Ray Flores alongside Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell getting set for a big night of action at the top of the hour. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Also, win some money. DraftKings.com. Pick the winners and the results of our 3 main card fights. Do that now at DraftKings.com. Before we get into our main event of the evening, gentlemen, what did you take away from Malik Hawkins' performance here tonight over Jonathan Steele?
So he did some nice work, I thought, right? He was fighting in a way that I don't think was optimal for his size or dimensions or strategy. He was trying to intercept Steele all the time, rather than, as Steve was pointing out, where was the jab? The jab would be a great way to intercept rather than trying to throw a punch missing, and now you have to move around the ring, you have to duck, you have to dodge. It's a lot of work. It's a very labor-intensive style. He didn't need to do that. But even doing that, he still won the fight. So some things to work on, but also nice work.
Look, he said it himself to us in the fighter means he just loves to fight. You may want to see a little bit of more of a jab for a guy that long, but there's some Diego Corrales comparisons when you talk about his style. Loves to fight on the inside, and he had a very hungry opponent in Steele who talked up his ability to withstand pain and punishment and come forward. Good little test right here. Moves it forward. Look, it's about 50 rounds with Gervonta Davis did Malik Hawkins entering this fight. So it got a little heated and testy at times. They needed to be separated. This was good work for him. Survive and advance.
Brian, you brought up the last name, Corrales. Well, Corrales will be our first opening contest. I'm talking about Jezreel Corrales as he will take on Ladarius Miller. That'll open up Showtime Championship Boxing coming up at the top of the hour here in Baltimore. Luke, this is a very interesting matchup. Corrales, a former world champion. Ladarius Miller on a 10-fight win streak.
He certainly is. It's a contrast in styles. You got someone a little bit wonky, a little bit unorthodox in the case of Corrales, much more of a sort of standard plotter. I don't mean to diminish him, but it's a little bit more what you're accustomed to seeing from a typical boxer in Miller. However, Miller has that nice win over Herring, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that really stands out. And then, of course, Corrales has that bad loss to Machado. But I don't think, if I'm looking around here, that Miller is that kind of a puncher, and I don't think he can deal with the little unorthodox ways in which Corrales fights. I'm actually liking Corrales in this one, but I do think it's going to go the distance, yes.
Okay, so check that out on DraftKings.com if you want to go ahead and be a part of that. Now, Brian, the co-main event is one. Brian's been fired up all week long.
Give it to me. I want the smoke.
Put it in his veins.
And Martinez, the Cuban gold medalist, 2 former world champions going head-to-head. Possible ramifications in our main event as well. B-Cam, my goodness, away we go with our co-feature.
Yeah, give me that smoke. I want it. I want to see these two guys let their hands go in the ring. Both former world champions. And I think for Gamboa, 37 years old, but still only lost twice. Gave Terrence Crawford back in the day in a lightweight title bout all he could handle for some rounds. Gamboa still has the quick hands. Maybe chinny would be the bad word here, but a guy you can hurt, a guy who goes down, he does get back up. For Gamboa, I think there's more upside should he get a win here. You could talk about names, potentially Gervonta Davis if things go that way for him. But he's going to have to get past a very hungry Rocky Martinez. Well, if he does one thing, and you want to revisit his collaborations with Orlando Salido, he lets his hands go. This is going to be fun.
Well, all week long, we have seen and been given a comprehensive look at the career of Gervonta Davis here on Showtime Sports on the YouTube page, entitled The Rise, a 3-part series. One of those integral parts to Gervonta Davis' success has been the influence of his promoter, Floyd Mayweather. Luke, how big of an influence is that to have the biggest prize fighter of all time financially to be in your corner and give you words of wisdom night in, night out?
If you were looking at a blueprint of how to guide a career, how to win inside the ring, how to earn money, how to get your name out there in terms of visibility, could you find a better person to do that inside boxing than Floyd Mayweather? That is really what is provided here. And he's not getting that blueprint from afar. Because, by the way, many fighters try to copy what Floyd does by looking at a distance. He gets it at the granular level with TLC, with whispers in his ear, with hand holdings to a degree. This is what you need to do. This is the path to follow. And you talked about the show. In there, you have Davis saying, I wanted to stay in boxing because I got love from it. I think he also gets genuinely, not just appreciation from Floyd, but a real bond and connection with him. He can trust him, and in boxing, that's pretty rare.
And let's be honest about one thing here. And to call anybody the next Floyd, look, Gervonta Davis and Floyd have very different styles in the ring. You're not really going to see a next Floyd. He was that great for a reason. He's 50-0. One thing Floyd Mayweather, almost in an underrated nature, did very well. He was completely unflappable when he stepped through those ropes, despite what was going on in his personal life outside of there. If that's the kind of wisdom he can hand down to Gervonta, who had a tough upbringing, has turned things around for himself in his personal life, to build that inner mental toughness that no matter what people are saying about you, no matter what's happening in your personal life, when you step through those ropes, it's business time. That would be one of the better things you can get handed down from the legend in Floyd Mayweather.
Well, there are a litany of options out there for Gervonta Davis, assuming he's successful tonight against Ricardo Nunez. Again, Showtime Championship Boxing coming your way at the top of the hour here in Baltimore, Maryland. The first time Showtime Championship Boxing has been here to the Charm City. But last week we heard Leo Santa Cruz call out Gervonta Davis. Gary Russell Jr. had said, I'll go up 4 pounds. I'll fight him. Gamboa Martinez in our co-feature. They said the winner of that fight, they want Gervonta Davis. If you had your wish, Luke, who would you want to see Gervonta Davis fight next?
Hard to go wrong with any of those choices, including Farmer, as Steve Farmer had mentioned. I'm going to go Gary Russell Jr. I'm biased, I admit. I'm from the nation's capital. But look, think about the athleticism involved there. They are not exactly the same kind of fighter, but two movers, two guys who are quick, agile, I think still prime. And, of course, you get the battle of the Beltway, D.C. versus Baltimore. You could put it in Maryland in semi-neutral ground, PG County, and I think it would do gangbusters. If Davis is showing us anything this week, it's boxing doesn't always have to be in Las Vegas. It doesn't always have to be in New York. It has to be where people want to see it. Trust me, people want to see that.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to pick a better choice at this point than Gary Russell, what I love, Leo Santa Cruz, all that. Basically, what I really want to see, though, is Gervonta Davis tested. I'm sure he wants to see the same thing. We've put so much praise on his shoulder, rightfully so, when you've got people like Floyd Mayweather vouching for you. When he goes out there and blows people away, and we're talking about this could be a next future star in the ring. But, guys, we thought maybe he would get that career-defining test against Abner Maris earlier this year. The eye injury pulled Maris out of that fight. Davis kept his composure, blows out Hugo Ruiz in 1 round. But that wasn't the fight where we were really going to find out exactly who we have. The guy who walked right through Jose Pedraza to win that world title. The guy who's shown us so many flashes. I want to see him there against another elite guy who can test him some rounds. And we find out how, not good, how great Gervonta Davis can really be.
Oh, we're going to send it back to our broadcast team of Brent Stover and Steve Farhud. It is that moment of the show, prediction time. Gentlemen, will Gervonta Davis make his homecoming a successful one, or will his opponent, Ricardo Nunez, have a very early birthday present as he turns 25 tomorrow and upset Gervonta Davis? Gentlemen.
Indeed, the WBA Super Featherweight Championship of the world coming up later tonight on Showtime. You will be part of the telecast. What's your prediction, Steve?
I don't make predictions because I'm the unofficial scorer. I get in enough trouble being the unofficial scorer without predictions, but I tell you what I hope for. I hope that Nunez fights the fight he says he's going to fight, because if he does, of course, for selfish reasons, I want to see a war. But think of what this atmosphere is going to be like, with the crowd, how the crowd will respond if it's a real fight, back and forth. Who knows, maybe a couple knockdowns each. I'll take that.
How about Gervonta Davis? How much added pressure fighting at home for the first time while defending a world title?
There's definitely pressure. There's also pressure being the next one, you know, the one Floyd has anointed as the next great fighter. This is something I think that he's getting used to. Now, fighting in Baltimore is a new thing for him. There's pressure that comes with that's different from the other pressure. I think he's going to respond to it.
Ricardo Nunez, though, as you've alluded to, has promised to be very entertaining. Can you give us that prediction? An entertaining, exciting, high-octane fight?
If you're Nunez, you have 21 wins, 19 knockouts. Go for it. Why not? What do you have to lose except the fight? And of course, sometimes boxing's ironic that way. The harder you try to win sometimes, the more likely you are to lose because you make yourself vulnerable. I hope he makes himself vulnerable because it's going to be exciting that way.
On the main card, what's one other fighter you're really excited to see tonight?
I love watching Unorthodox Gamboa. He's always been exciting. This is a guy who's been down in 10 fights in his career. But in those fights in which he's been knocked down, his record is 8-2. So he goes down and he gets back up. He's sort of the Floyd Patterson of the lighter weight classes. So I wouldn't mind seeing him and Gervonta Davis, but he has to take care of Rocky Martinez first. And Rocky Martinez guarantees you an exciting fight because he's always aggressive.
All right, that'll be the main event, WBA Super Featherweight Championship of the World. Gervonta Davis fighting in his hometown of Baltimore takes on Ricardo Nunez. Coming up, top of the hour on Showtime. In the meantime, back to Ray Flores and his guys up top.
Thank you very much, Brent. Now it is prediction time for my colleagues to my left, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, the host of Morning Combat. Plenty to dissect on Monday morning. What are the headlines going to be? Luke, your prediction for our main event, Davis and Nunez.
To me, it's not a matter of if Davis wins, it is when, and I think that Ricardo Nunez while I respect his Panamanian hustle, while I certainly understand that he believes he's going to win, I don't think this is going to be a guy who's going to lay down for Davis. I just don't think he's seen anything like Davis either. Davis is locked on. He's ready to go. I think KO round 2.
Yeah, Davis is such an explosive fighter. One thing Steve really nailed there, if you're looking at Ricardo Nunez, your best chance to win, also your most likely chance to get finished. It's to be aggressive. It's to get in that kitchen and test just how good Tank Davis really is, just how good his chin is. We've never really seen this elite fighter in trouble before. I don't think we're going to end up seeing it tonight because we know how explosive he is. I do think we can get some fireworks, though. Maybe a 4th, 5th round finish for Gervonta Davis.
I like that. I like a midway through the 3rd round finish for Gervonta Davis on behalf of our entire crew. Brent Stover, the Hall of Famer, Steve Ford, Brian Campbell, Luke Thomas, the host of Morning Combat every single Monday morning. Look, Baltimore hasn't had a world champion defend a championship in front of the home crowd in almost 80 years. In the words of Dua Lipa, there will be plenty of electricity inside the Royal Farms Arena. On behalf of our entire staff, I'm Ray Flores. Top of the hour, Showtime Championship Boxing. A triple header. Gervonta Davis puts his title on the line against Ricardo Nunez. We will see you in a few moments here from the Charm City. The first time that Showtime Championship Boxing has come here to Baltimore. Gervonta Davis, Ricardo Nunez is next.
As a youth, he faced adversity. As a man, he rose above it all. And as a king, he reigned supreme, making his mark on the sport.
Unbelievable knockout artist Tank Davis.
Decorated champion Tank Davis returns Saturday, July 27th at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Showtime.
DraftKings and Showtime Sports are bringing fight fans closer to the action than ever before with our custom Showtime Boxing Pick'em game.
It doesn't get bigger than this for these two warriors.
For every Showtime Boxing event, you have the opportunity to compete for your share of $5,000 and a Showtime Boxing swag bag, plus a year-long competition to win a trip to every Showtime Championship Boxing event in 2020.
When both of us get in the ring, you don't know what's going to happen.
Call it like you see it. Pick the fighters, the method of victory, and earn your shot to win money.
Oh, this fight is over!
Stop ducking and enter the ring. Go to DraftKings.com/Showtime now to play.
When you exert yourself in the gym, so when you're in a fight, it's easy. This is when you want to force yourself. You exert yourself here. You don't got to worry about it. If you get tired in the gym, it's when you're supposed to be tired. So you won't get tired in the fight.
When I signed with Floyd, it was like I was sparring every day.
Get the jab, Tank, get the jab.
Training non-stop. And then every person that he was signing at that time had to go through me.
Tank, point to the easy work. Point to the easy work.
Now, Floyd gave me a lot of advice. He still give me advice as far as boxing. Make sure I'm training hard each and every day because no opponent need to be taken lightly.
It's my little killer right here. When your next fight, champ? You fight on my card. What? He world champion. The youngest world champion in boxing. I'm there. Action, what's his record? What's your record?
17-9.
Okay, there you go. You real. Oh, he official.
Money team, baby.
I want you to help me take him down.
You finally understand.
You do it my way.
Show me in!
Don't go acting like you don't know what I'm talking about. I want you back. I love you.
I need another beer.
Welcome home.